guys, it's Luke with Motor Minds again, and we are in the 1986 Porsche 944. We're going to go ahead and do a little POV drive for you guys today. I haven't done a whole lot of POV drives, so if you guys would like to drop a comment and give me feedback on if you guys like the POV drives, anything you'd like me to add to the POV drives, just drop a comment on this video and I will definitely take your considerations. And now we're just going to go ahead, drive around in the 86 944 so that way you guys can get a little bit of an idea of what it's like to be behind the wheel of what is basically a 32-year-old sports car, since this car was, well, it is an 86, it was actually built in August of 1985 for this particular car. So it is over 32 years old. That's quite old, but this thing still drives great. Oh yeah, these roads back here are absolutely epic. This is in Clifton, Virginia. We love to come out here and just go back road bashing. I actually went on this exact same route, if you guys have seen the POV video for our 2016 Mazda Miata that I did way back in, that was probably like July that I did that video. And we actually went on these exact same roads, and here I am in a car that is quite a bit older than that car, but really the same kind of market. They're really similar cars in a way. They both have a similar amount of power. This 86 944 actually produces 147 horsepower out of its 2.5 liter inline-4 engine. That engine is actually essentially half of the 928's 5-liter V8. They take one bank of cylinders, and that is part of the reason why the timing belt service on this car is so atrocious, because the whole setup is so damn weird, because it's essentially half of the 928's V8. But yeah, 147 horsepower in this car. If you're in Europe, you get a bit more power. I think it's more like 153, but emissions regulations over here in the States kind of sucked out some of that power. But it is enough to get this car from 0 to 60 in around 8 seconds or so, which is what it was tested at back in the 80s. However, a lot of people have said that those were very conservative estimates, and I would honestly believe that, because this car feels a lot quicker than an 8-second car. My Focus does 0 to 60 in 7.5 seconds, and this feels considerably quicker than the Focus, which is pretty cool. This does have a 5-speed manual transmission here. I'm not sure if you can see in shot, but I do need to do a new shifter boot on it. The old one was all dry rotted and cracked, so I removed that. It was disgusting, and now there's just nothing there. All you have is the inner boot, so I'm gonna hopefully go ahead and replace that very, very shortly. I'll shut up so that way you guys can just enjoy the drive for a little. Like I said, 147 horsepower, but she's not slow. She is not slow at all. I mean, comparatively, by modern day standards, yeah, it's not the quickest car out there. I mean, heck, a lot of SUVs would probably tie this car in a drag race, if not beat it, but that's not the point. The whole point of this car is the experience, how it makes you feel. This engine has such a nice burble. It just sounds great, even though it's only a 4-cylinder engine. Just sounds really, really good. The shifter feel is awesome, despite the fact that there is some play in the shifter because the shifter bushing's all worn out. Need to replace that. I mean, it's a 32-year-old car. Let's be real here. Some stuff is gonna be a little worn, but for how old it is, feels great. This car actually has power steering. It wasn't standard for the entire model range of the 944, so this car actually has it, and a lot of the times people will say that you would rather get one without the power steering because whilst it's not quite as nice to drive, the power steering systems in these cars tend to leak, and a lot of that is attributed to the fact that you're not supposed to put power steering fluid in the system here. You're actually supposed to put automatic transmission fluid in the car. And when I first bought this car, I didn't know that. So I was digging through the trunk and I saw that the previous owner had a bunch of ATF in the trunk. And I was like, why the hell does this guy have ATF? Don't tell me he was topping up the tranny with ATF, because this isn't an automatic transmission. And then I was doing some research and found out that you are supposed to put ATF in it. But the main reason that this power steering system isn't really all that great in general is just because it tends to leak. I actually have a small leak. The hose running from the fluid tank for the power steering actually seeps fluid very, very mildly, so I'm probably going to have to replace that, put a new hose clamp on and all that. But besides that, the steering does feel great. This car in particular has very tied down steering. It's very well weighted and it feels so natural. It's not overly boosted. That's the first thing you'll realize with this car is when you drive a lot of modern cars with electric power steering, you're used to overly boosted steering wheel. You'll turn the wheel not all that much and you'll get a lot of steering input. And with this car, that's not the case. You actually need to turn the wheel to get the car to turn. You can't do little inputs and expect the car to just jerk from direction change, you know? This car doesn't do that. You gotta be a lot more aware of the fact that you actually have to put in steering inputs to get anything out of it. But that makes it a lot more rewarding in the long run. And of course, we're stuck behind the Ford Transit van here. That's always a joy. 40 miles an hour. As you can tell by some of the bumps I'm going over there, the ride isn't all that great. I probably could go for new shocks. I mean, they're not bad. I mean, there's not that much body roll or anything, and I mean, they're not shot by any means, but they could definitely be improved. I would like to have stiffer shocks and maybe coilovers in the future, but I'm not too sure at the moment. And regardless of what I would like to have, my wallet kind of dictates what happens, and right now I am broke because I just plopped so much money into this car. Okay, I'm taking it that this Prius is... Okay, you have your hazards on and... Okay, whatever. Whatever floats your boat, homie. Okay, yeah, you just pull over there, why don't you? Yeah, I wasn't even flooring it there. I was short shifting it at $4,000 and I'm already doing 55. So yeah, I mean, while it may not be super quick, I mean, it's definitely quick enough for me. I mean, not saying I wouldn't mind having a quicker car, but this car really allows you to utilize all the power that it has on tap. When you have a lot of these cars with so much horsepower, you never get to fully utilize all that power on a public road unless you feel like breaking the law and potentially running into a massive speeding ticket, which quite frankly, I don't really feel like doing that. I mean, large speeding fines and points on my license don't really appeal to me. And I do know that I would not have enough self-control if I did have a 500 or 600 horsepower car to not floor it all the time. So I am quite glad I have this for that one reason. Like, with this car, you really get to utilize every single one of your 147 German horsepower. You know, it's the best thing ever. It's so much fun. And then you have that awesome exhaust note, and it all just brings together to become such an occasion. I mean, this car is such an occasion to drive. You hop in, you turn the key, and you hear this old 4-cylinder engine just slowly burble to life. I cold started it today. It was about 15 degrees out this morning when I got up to go out and make this video, and I hadn't started the car in probably about 4 days, just haven't been driving it. And I go out to start the car and it takes like a solid 5 seconds to crank over. When it cranks over, oh my God, did that sound awesome. It was so ridiculous. I kind of wish I'd filmed it, but when the car had been sitting for that long in such cold weather, it's just sounds awesome. So much fun. Man, when you pitch this thing into turns, I am always really surprised by how well it handles considering how old it is, and even not considering how old it is. Like, you drive a brand new sports car and yeah, it'll handle great, but this car doesn't handle that much worse than a modern sports car. And it's so much more gratifying to drive at the same time, in my opinion, because it's a much more mechanical experience. You feel a lot more connected with the car. You don't really realize how much is to be said for true mechanical connection when you're so used to driving these modern cars, because, I mean, it's kind of disorienting. You get used to one thing, and then when you kind of take a step back and drive a car that's about 30 years old and realize where we've come from, you just realize how much you're really missing out on when it comes to the overall connection to the road, connection to the car. You feel everything. Like when you change gear, you feel the clutch engage, you feel everything in the gear shift. Everything just comes alive in this car. It's so much more than just pushing some buttons, pulling some levers, and turning a wheel. You feel everything. You're really connected with it, and that just adds to the driving experience so much. We are back in town. I'm gonna have to wrap up this review right over here. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know if you guys really like these POV drives, or if you would rather have me focus on more review-based content. Just drop a comment, let me know what you guys think. As always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and definitely browse the rest of the channel. We have a lot more content coming up. We're filming a lot of really cool stuff. Hope you guys like it, and as always, check by the channel to watch our next video.